Jonathan was born August 16th, 1974. It was one of the happiest days of my life.
I've known him for a really long time. We went to the same school, but we started dating when I was a sophomore and he was a junior. Very charismatic guy, good at a lot of stuff, sports, music, was in all the clubs, DECA, super funny. Everybody thought he was funny.
Obviously, I've known Jonathan my entire life, with him being my brother. He has worked pretty much since the day that he could. He had a paper route back in, I believe it was middle school, all the way through high school. Went up to UND, first college, and he, at that point in time, he worked for the college newspaper. And then he had met Gary Marzin through his business school that he was part of at UND, and started working for Marco in 1996.
Well, Jonathan and I go way back to when he first started at Marco. It all really began at the University of North Dakota when I happened to ask the head of the marketing department who his best or most outstanding student was, and of course Jonathan's name popped up.
Well, he started in sales at Marco and was on commission, so that was really stressful at first for him, but once he got, a year or two under his belt, he seemed to be loving it and learning really quickly, and loved the culture at Marco. When we first moved to St. Cloud and he started working there, people were so friendly and welcoming and offering to hang out socially, and that was, I think, what he liked the most, was the culture at Marco.
Well, the first time I met Jonathan is he came to St. Cloud in I guess you could say, a job interview. And funny enough, he brought his dad with, which is typical Jonathan. He's got close relationships with his family, and of course, those of us that have known him for so many years.
Jonathan was very loyal to Marco during the week. On the weekend, that was his time. Friday afternoon to Sunday afternoon. That was time at the lakes, time with the family.
He traveled a lot. He went to St. Cloud pretty much once a week, but he never really made it feel like he was gone. He'd call us, just get updates from us. It was pretty awesome. I feel like we grew even closer when he was away, just because of the phone calls we had, and it just never really felt like he was gone all that much.
He would bring us to Marco and we'd hang out in the employee lounge, or one day I brought my Girl Scout cookies and he had me, I had to practice a slogan and come up with a pitch and go to everyone's cubicle and sell Girl Scout cookies that way. So Marco was kind of like our second home growing up. And then we've grown up with, I know all the Marco employees. They come to our lake in the summer. They come to our house in Castleton and play golf with my dad in the summers. And so they're all kind of like my aunts and uncles. And a lot of my family members now work here as well. So.
It was 2010. He had moved back to Fargo as a sales director role from St. Cloud, had called me up, and I had just gotten off a plane, and I went to check my voicemails, and he's like, "Hey Jackie, I want you to come and work at Marco selling copiers." And I actually laughed and told my husband, "No way in hell am I gonna go." Can I say hell? No way am I gonna go sell copiers. Well, then Jonathan style, he had put together a PowerPoint for me, told me what rep could make at Marco, said all the reasons why he loved Marco, what it's done for him personally, what it's done for his career, what it's done for his family. I think I signed some napkin at the end of that saying I would be here within the next 2 weeks. And that was June of 2010, and 12 and a half years later, and I'm still here.
First impression, full of energy. He's got that can-do attitude with a lot of energy, but it's the can-do-it-right attitude, not just get it done.
The first time I met Jonathan, what really struck me was his ability to so expertly navigate through change. He is an incredible transition manager. At the time I served at Jeremiah and he served as the board chair, Jeremiah program was going through exponential change. And Jonathan was able to be steady during that time of great change.
I was a selling rep at the time. He was in leadership. I remember he treated me like an equal. Didn't talk down to me, didn't dismiss me. And that was my first interaction with him, and he was in leadership at that point.
What immediately struck me about Jonathan was how warm and collegial and open he was, and welcoming me and my family to the area and welcoming us to UND. And I think it's particularly impactful that this award is about character, because his character exuded from the very beginning. And he was just a very warm, welcoming individual to the UND community.
Doing good has always been a big part of his life, and he's shown myself that and pretty much anybody else at Marco of the importance of doing good.
He has volunteered his time at the Castleton Park Board committee he's been on since I can remember, and just been a part of projects to improve our town, bring in more access for the community members. Like right now they're working on a grocery store or a Dairy Queen, a Dollar General. He helped build a park right behind our house in a newer development, so there's a park there now right around this pond. And then he also volunteered a lot of his time at the Jeremiah Foundation. And so that was pretty important to our family, since my grandfather was raised by a single mother. And so that was really cool to just kind of honor her in that way.
I think that it's obvious from Jonathan how much he cares about the next generation of Nistler College and UND students. That's one thing that has stuck out to me from the beginning. He and Marco and others have done an incredible workshop for students pre-COVID, and we're starting it back up post-COVID as well now, for our marketing students, and to hone their professional selling skills and to understand their personalities more, and for him and Jeff Gow to dedicate an entire day here on campus in Grand Forks, when I know they're all very busy people, but they came back to give back to our students.
I don't know that there's so many examples, that the easy thing might be to say is that he has made me a better man. He really has. And it's funny because he's younger than me, just by a couple of years, right? I think he may have more grace than I do. And some of the things that he's helped me through as an individual, both professionally and personally, have really made me a better person. And when I say a better person, he said, "Jason, come work for Marco because you'll be a better husband and a better father." He wasn't kidding. I was traveling way too much, and helped me through. I had a cancer battle about 7-8 years ago, and boy, the sincere effort and the prayers and the rallying of the troops was something that I appreciated, that I just can't ever, it's a debt I can never repay.
When I think of Jonathan in one word, I would call Jonathan friend. He's a friend. He's a friend to many. He's got a lot of friends. I mean, he's a friend to his family. Jonathan's a friend.
I would say leader. I'd say leader and professional. I would say fun and personal. Jonathan's fun.
This might sound a little odd, but I think it's investment. And he invests his time, as we see that with the legislature right now, and we see that with all the work he's done with students and with other charities that I know he's greatly involved in. But I think he invests both himself and his efforts and his time into those things that he cares about.
I'd probably say compassionate. He's just passionate about everything. Just has the biggest heart.
Above and beyond all things, one of the reasons that he's such a magmatic personality is because he's fun to be around.
Jonathan's sincerity shines through.
If I really thought about it, I'd say passion.
I think it would be achiever.
Sincere or authentic, just kind of what you see is what you get, and that's really amazing these days.
Of course, I don't have just one word. I have 3 words that characterize Jonathan, and those words are walks the talk. Jonathan walks the talk of his core values. His values lead the way.
We were very glad that Jonathan got this job and he didn't go into selling vacuum cleaners, because we knew if he would have sold vacuum cleaners that everybody in the family would probably have 2 or 3, because he'd talk everybody into buying one.